everyone. A little bit later today in my live video, probably mainly because I forgot. So I hope everyone watched my videos last week on suffering. And if you did, I'd really love to know what you thought about suffering and if you had any thoughts. I also did a video on gratitude and why so many people find it so hard to feel grateful and properly grateful. And I did that on my Cosmo Hippie chat page, which is my page. I think I shared it to here. So have a look if you haven't watched that about that. That sparked some really nice conversations as well. So this week, the theme in the clinic has been around relationships and polarities and differences. So, well, it's obvious, to everybody around that, some people are different. Not everyone is the same. But it's this idea behind differences either being good or bad, and our tendency to judge and to categorize things. So the thing is, we kind of do this in our bodies as well, okay? So we kind of have this idea that that things are kind of dropped upon us. And you hear people talk this way all the time. They'll say, oh, my bad knee, or my bung back, or I caught the flu. It's all these ideas that health, that something has come in and that something's not of us. So we don't speak about, we speak about our body in terms of good or bad, like, oh, that's my bad knee and my bad elbow. And so when we do this, okay, it sets about something in our brain. It sets about an idea that is painful, that is bad, and I don't want to experience it, so I kind of just shove it in a box and just not think about it. And it sets about a pattern in us that something is not right there. So when we then go to try and fix it and trying to, to get it, resolved, we have this idea that, we have an idea of how it's going to go. And then when that idea doesn't happen, we get really upset because we're stuck in a way, and we're stuck in a way of thinking. And I see this quite a lot when people come into the practice and they say things like, so can you fix my bad back? So there's a lot of problematic things around that. To begin with, the thought that your back is good or bad is an issue. If something is not working properly, it's a sign that we need to look at it and we need to see what's going on. But categorizing it as bad, like that kind of language, like what do you think that kind of language? We've seen all those videos about when you bully a plant and the language and the negativity and how that affects something. So yes, and then the other part of this, can you fix my, is this outsourcing. And we tend to do this with people as well. We tend to either put people on a pedestal or in a pit. And if somebody is geared as the savior, so we often look for the next thing. I've done it personally myself. I've been like, ooh, keto diet, that'll be the thing for me. And then I'm like, oh, keto didn't work. Oh, paleo's the thing. And you see people doing this all the time. They're like, oh yeah, I did that for a while and then it didn't work and now it's bad. But people do it with doctors all the time. And I personally I know a lot of doctors, and it's something we grapple with, is that each time there are some patients that every time they come in, it feels like they're auditioning us. It's like, well, what are you going to do now? Like, what's this now? And there's no responsibility for their health. It's all on this external source. But The problem with this is that if we constantly keep looking for the next thing to fix us or solve all of our problems, if we're like, oh, that job wasn't the answer, but the next one, that'll be the one. Oh, that relationship, that was bad, but the next one, that'll do it. We're constantly searching. The problem with this is eventually every single thing will disappoint us. Every single thing will fail, and each time at the end we'll be faced with a choice whether to actually go and search of something else, which will be the next big thing, or we need to sit back and look at ourselves and understand that perhaps we are involved in this process. And I know that that's a hard thing to swallow, and I know it's a hard thing to hear, that perhaps we are in some way involved in our own distress. And I think that it's a very powerful part of healing, though, because relationships are part of healing. And the first relationship we sort of need to, the way we relate to other people, and the first relationships we need to fix, and and this way we need to go into healing is fixing our relationships with ourselves as well. So actually, first of all, understanding that there is no good and there is no bad. So that bad back of yours isn't actually a bad back, it's just your back. And understanding that there are no good or bad parts of us, that each part is just there with other parts, and it all is a melting pot that is you. Because what we tend to do is we tend to alienate lots of parts of ourselves, and we tend to project those parts onto someone else. So we project the good as well. So we project that good healing ability that we innately have. We project that onto a doctor, and we say, you'll heal me. And we discount the fact that we could really heal ourselves. I'm not saying that's easy. I'm not saying that that's something that we've ever been taught to do. I'm just saying that the ability is there. And then, we project the bad of ourselves as well. We think, oh, that person and their attitude, that's the problem. It's not me, it's them. Have you ever met someone and you instantly dislike them, just instantly? A lot of the time you instantly dislike something in them that you actually dislike in yourself. Because we alienate. We just go, no, that's not me. I'm not like that. They're like that, but I'm not like that. But this is an important step towards healing, is understanding that all those parts are part of us, and that those parts that maybe you don't like about yourself are also just part of you. They're not good or bad. So this is what we've been speaking about in the practice this week, is just starting to understand that we put people who we see around us, we put them on a pedestal and think they're either amazing, and we can project abilities that we have and good things on them, and we think they're infallible. But then when they fail, that disappoints us, and we search for the next thing to solve our problems. And that's a constant cycle, because at the end of the day, nobody is going to solve your problems. No external force can solve your problems. No external force can fix you and can make you whole. That work can only be done by you. And the other thing we've been talking about is pedestals or pits, and alienating. So we alienate, and we alienate parts of ourselves as well. And I see it a lot with people who want to lose weight, and they say, oh, but I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about don't want to think about my big gut. And if I just don't think about it, then maybe it doesn't exist. But it does exist, and it is there. And it's not going to go away if you just ignore it, because how well does that work for anyone? Anyone? Does that work for you? Does shoving it down and putting it in a box and not thinking about it and just hoping it'll go away, does that work for anyone? Has it ever worked for anyone? Seriously, I'd like to know if it has, because I don't think it does. But yeah, so this is about, so we've been talking about relationships with ourselves, within ourselves, and how that translates into relationships that we have with other people. But yeah, it's been good, and it's a really interesting thing, and it's a really hard thing to talk about. It's really hard to tell people that that they have a choice. That they can constantly, that when the next thing fails them, they have a choice to either step up and acknowledge that they have some part to play in where their situation is, or they can go find someone else, and this will happen again, because this is just how it is. You cannot outsource your healing. You can't. You have to do the work. I always say to my clients, it's like a bear hunt. We're going on a bear hunt. You can't go over it. You can't go under it. You got to go through it. Funnily enough, this one is not as hard as suffering, I have found. Admitting you suffer is probably, for most of my patients, been a little bit harder. But yeah, this one, admitting that you have good parts and bad parts, admitting that you have alienated parts, admitting that you have a decision and a role to play in your story, in your patterns, in your behavior, in your life. It can be tricky. But the thing is that at this sort of stage, we just have to acknowledge it. We don't have to do anything about it. There's lots of healing to be done, but yeah, this is admitting that perhaps you are part of the problem. So yes, unpopular opinion, but yeah, leave me a comment if you believe that yes, we are part of our problems, and we have the decisions, we can make the decisions whether we constantly search for an external force to fix us, or if we can actually acknowledge that perhaps the healing needs to start with us. I will see you guys next week, around about Thursday. I think Thursday sort of works well. But please leave me a comment if you have any thoughts. I will see you guys next week. Bye.